各位记者朋友，大家好。首先，我再次欢迎蓬佩奥国务卿对中国进行访问。刚才我们就中美关系以及朝鲜半岛等共同关心的重要问题深入交换了意见。我们双方都认为，过去1年多来，习近平主席同特朗普总统通过会晤、通话、通讯等方式保持了密切沟通，为中美关系的健康稳定发展提供了重要的战略引领。当前中美关系进入了一个重要的阶段，经过近40年发展，中美关系面临的机遇和挑战都在增加。但是，共同利益远远大于分歧，对话合作远远多于竞争的基本面并没有变化。确保两国关系沿着正确方向发展，符合两国人民的根本利益，也是国际社会的普遍期待。双方将安排好两国的高层及各层级的交往，及早举行4个高级别对话机制的第2轮对话，积极拓展互利合作，稳妥管控分歧矛盾，不断加强人文领域的交流，进一步夯实两国关系的基础。中美经济团队迄今就两国经贸问题举行了多轮磋商，双方达成了重要的谅解和共识。最根本的一条就是同意采取建设性的方式来处理分歧。我们希望美方同中方相向而行，切实遵循这一重要的共识，通过双赢而非双输的方式，推动有关问题得到妥善的解决。在此过程当中，我们希望美方不要在单方面采取任何非建设性的行为，也不要为双方下一步的磋商制造新的障碍。在会谈当中，我向国务卿先生重申了中国政府在台湾问题上的原则立场，对美方近来的一些做法表达了严重的关切。我们敦促美方恪守一个中国原则和中美3个联合公报的规定，停止美台官方的交往和任何的军事联系，慎重妥善地处理涉台的问题，防止中美关系大局受到不必要的干扰。国务卿先生向我通报了美朝领导人新加坡会晤的有关情况，这是一次成功的历史性的会晤，尤其是把朝鲜半岛核问题纳入了对话解决的轨道，给半岛和平带来了希望。我们对美朝两国领导人展现出来的魄力和担当表示高度赞赏。这次会晤是一个重要和良好的开端。当然，解决半岛问题需要一个过程，希望并且相信美朝双方能够落实好这次会晤达成的共识，继续相向而行，积极互动。同时，半岛局势牵动地区各方利益，解决问题离不开各方的支持和参与。中方愿意同包括美朝在内的有关各方密切沟通，继续为推动半岛无核化、建立半岛和平机制来发挥中方应有的作用。谢谢各位。
谢谢王毅国务员。下面请蓬佩奥国务卿讲。
Good evening. I'm delighted to be with you, Councillor Young. It's the second time we've had the chance to meet, first in Washington and now here. And it's great to make my first trip to China as the United States Secretary of State. I want to thank all of our Chinese hosts for their incredible hospitality. I also want to thank China and President Xi for his role in helping bring North Korea to the negotiating table and for its continued support as we work to achieve the complete, verifiable, and irreversible denuclearization of North Korea. This is my third country that I've had the chance to speak with today. Each has reinforced 3 important things that happened in Singapore. First, the commitment to a fundamentally changed relationship. Japan, the Republic of Korea, and now China have all acknowledged that we have turned the corner, that we have begun a process away from the threat of war and towards peace on the peninsula. Each of those 3 countries, too, has acknowledged the importance of the work that President Trump has undertaken and the commitments that Chairman Kim has made towards that very end, to achieve that denuclearization. And each of those 3 countries has also acknowledged that it is important that the sanctions regime that is in place today remain in place until such time as that denuclearization is in fact complete. There has been unanimity in that set of objectives, and I'm heartened by that following the Singapore summit. The United States wants a very constructive relationship with China. That means we have to make concrete progress on our top priorities. We've seen the power that comes when the United States and China do work together, when we don't treat the relationship as being zero-sum. We're stopping the flow of illegal opioids together, and this will save countless American lives, and we are deeply appreciative of China's support. We discussed trade today. Our deficit with China is still too high. I stress how important it is for President Trump to rectify that situation so that trade becomes more balanced, more reciprocal, and more fair, with the opportunity to have American workers be treated fairly. We had good and constructive discussions. We also need to make some progress between our two countries on security. As Councillor Young mentioned, I reaffirmed our concern with respect to China's efforts to build and militarize outposts in the South China Sea, endangering the free flow of trade and threaten the sovereignty of other nations and undermining regional stability. I urged Councillor Young, and he confirmed China's willingness to resolve these disputes in a peaceful way without resort to threats, coercion, or intimidation. I am confident that we can continue to work together towards that end. When our two countries disagree, our two countries will speak up and firmly stand for each of our people. Our values, including the respect for human rights and religious freedom and the rule of law, are important. When we cooperate, the United States and China can make great progress. There is much work ahead for our two countries. I am committed to working with you and with China to achieve those objectives. Thank you.
谢谢蓬佩奥国务卿。下面请大家提问。为了多一些机会请大家一次只提一个问题。央视记者。
你好，中央广电总台央视记者提问，有一个问题想要请问王一国委员。那您在两会记者会上也曾经表示，中美之间可以有竞争，但不必做对手，更需当伙伴。那这也是受到了国际社会的高度关注。那您认为中美双方应该如何来实现这样的一个目标？谢谢。
作为两个大国，中美之间难免会出现一些竞争，这也是国际社会和国际关系当中的一种正常的现象。关键是我们以什么样的心态来看待竞争。就中方而言，我们认为中美之间的竞争应该是良性和积极的竞争，是旨在超越自我，而不是要取代对方。双方应该以竞争助推合作，以合作创造双赢，这样才真正符合中美两国的利益，也才能切实履行中美两国对世界所应当承担起的责任。明年我们将迎来中美建交40周年，这将是两国关系进程当中一个重要节点。中方愿意同美方一道，认真落实两国元首达成的重要共识，相互尊重，聚焦合作，管控分歧。就像刚才国务卿先生所说，我们不是一种零和的关系。如果我们合作的话，我们确实能够办成很多大事，也能取得很多重要的进展。我们要努力使2019年成为中美两国的增进互信之年，扩大交往之年，深化合作之年。双方一方面要通过加强全方位合作，为中美关系发掘和贡献更多的正能量，为世界的和平与发展做出更多的新贡献；另一方面呢，也要在相互尊重基础上妥善处理好分歧和敏感问题，不断扫除两国关系发展道路上的绊脚石。当前我们双方尤其要切实加强对话和沟通，避免两国关系受到新的干扰，从而确保中美关系的发展的动力越来越足，阻力越来越小。这样我们就可以为中美关系下一个40年的健康稳定发展奠定更为坚实的基础，也开辟更为广阔的前景。谢谢。
请大家继续提问。
Next question goes to Michael Gordon from the Wall Street Journal. Keep it to one question, if you would, please. Thank you.
Okay. A question for State Councilor Wang. The United States has taken the position that North Korea should take major steps to dismantle its nuclear weapons and forces in a short period of time, in 2.5 years. It also says, as you've just heard, that there should be no sanctions relief until these steps by North Korea have been taken. Will China support this approach? Will China press North Korea to take disarmament steps in the next 2 years, and will it pledge to withhold any sanctions relief until these steps by North Korea are carried out?
这个问题其实，应该由国务卿先生来回答，因为他刚刚跟朝鲜方面进行了非常深入的和具体的沟通。就中方的立场而言，我想大家都很清楚，我们当然坚定不移的要推进并实现半岛的无核化。那么与此同时，我们认为应该解决朝鲜的合理的安全关切，也就是说建立起半岛的和平的机制。我认为中美双方，包括朝鲜以及各方在内，在这个大目标上，我们是完全一致的。这也体现在特朗普总统和金正委员长亲自签署的联合声明当中，成为这个联合声明当中最重要的内容。至于无核化进程如何来推进，那么它的具体步骤和方式，正像蓬佩奥国务卿所讲的，这需要下一步来进行更加细致的和具体的商谈。那么中方当然愿意在这过程当中来发挥中方的建设性的作用。谢谢。
May I add to that? Stan Councilor Wong and I had a good constructive discussion on these very topics. With respect to the pace at which the denuclearization will take place, I think we both agree that we need to do it as timely fashion as is possible to achieve the outcomes, and that the security assurances that we've talked about are provided at times that are appropriate. We also talked at some length about the sanctions. China has reaffirmed its commitment to honoring the UN Security Council resolutions. Those have mechanisms for relief contained in them, and we agreed that at the appropriate time that those would be considered. But we have made very clear that the sanctions and the economic relief that North Korea will receive will only happen after the full denuclearization, the complete denuclearization of North Korea.
谢谢。下一个问题，凤凰卫视记者。
您好，国务卿先生，我来自凤凰卫视。您曾经说过，中美应该发展更加富有成效的伙伴关系，两国关系不是零和关系，双方应该共同取得成功。请问美方为此已经并将继续采取哪些具体的措施？谢谢。
So there are many ways that we'll achieve that. Among the most important of them is we continue sound strategic dialogue between our two nations, so that where there are places where we disagree, we iron out those differences, and that we express our interests very clearly and work towards the peaceful resolution of those conflicts. Make very clear. There are many things today where China and the United States work very closely together that improve the lives for the citizens of each of our two countries. I mentioned a couple of them in my opening remarks. We'll continue to work alongside of those, on each of those. There are many, many places where our two nations are far better off working together in concert and aligned, as opposed to working at interests that diverge. And I am committed to working with Councilor Wong to achieve those in every venue where our two nations operate.
Our final question goes to Rich Hudson from Fox News.
Thank you very much. Mr. Secretary, how confident is the United States that it knows the extent of the North Korean nuclear program, and how confident are you in North Korea's willingness to divulge that information? And to both of you, Mr. Foreign Minister, Mr. Secretary, did you discuss the suspected attacks on American diplomats here, and have you learned any new information regarding what could be causing them?
So let me answer each of those two questions. I'll take your second question first. The issue with respect to the American Foreign Service officer who suffered a health incident here, was raised. I asked the Chinese to continue to cooperate with us to try and figure out how that happened, how it came to be, and to work with us to conduct an investigation sufficient that we can prevent it from happening again. I raised the issue, and Councillor Wong was kind in saying that he has provided and will continue to provide full support to ensuring that Americans serving here as diplomats will continue to be safe and secure, and I thank him very much for that. With respect to the scope and scale of the North Korea nuclear program, I don't want to get into the details of our intelligence precisely, but we have a reasonable understanding. It is incredibly important that we get a full understanding of that as quickly as possible, and as part of the efforts that will be undertaken in the week and weeks ahead, we will work with the North Koreans to come to have a fuller understanding of that so that we can begin to execute together the commitments that President Trump and Chairman Kim made. They made real commitments to denuclearize, each of them. And President Trump made a commitment that he would provide security assurances that were commensurate with that. Those are firm commitments that the two leaders made, and an understanding of the program as a piece of what will ultimately lead to our capacity to verify that full and complete denuclearization has actually taken place.
关于所谓的声波的攻击的问题，实际上中美之间保持着紧密的沟通。刚才龚先生也提到了，中方始终并将继续会依法来保护所有外交人员，包括美方外交人员的合法的权益，包括身体的健康。那么，我们已经对这个所谓的申诉进行了调查。我要告诉各位的是，目前我们并没有发现导致美方所说的这个状况的原因和线索。我们愿意就此同美方就此继续保持沟通，来处理好这个问题。最后想说几句话关于贸易。因为刚才国际先生提到了，实际上我们现在面对两个选择，一个选择就是合作，双赢；另一个选择就是对抗和烧输。中方我们已经选择了第一种，我们希望美方也能够做出同样的明智的选择。当然，我们也做好了应对第二种选择的准备。谢谢各位。
谢谢王毅国务委员，谢谢蓬佩奥国务卿，谢谢大家，记者会到此结束，谢谢大家。